Welcome to College Football, presented by Kay Jewelers. Today featuring the Oklahoma Sooners and the Kansas Jayhawks. Here is today in the Big 12 Conference in the fourth quarter. Oklahoma State really putting a blast on Baylor, 34-7. Iowa State 9-7 over the Huskers in the fourth quarter. And also in the fourth, it is K-State up by 14 over Colorado. Tonight, A&M is at Tech, and Texas is in Columbia to take on Missouri. Hi, everybody. Ron Franklin along with Ed Cunningham, and welcome to a beautiful afternoon here in the Heartland as Oklahoma comes to town. And Ed, talk about the Sooners and that emotional loss that they had last week. Is that a mountain for them to climb, or is it something that's easy to say, we lost to our arch rival, now we just keep on chugging?
I don't think it's easy because of how well they played on defense, all those turnovers on offense. But the one thing the coaches focused on was they've won 3 Big 12 championships in a row. And in those 3 years, they're 1-2 against Texas. So they are not out of the race in the South as we stand today.
Today, as they came out on the field, Sam Bradford came out in sweats. He is obviously not going to play today. Anything new on that story?
You know, I tried to talk to Sam before the game. He's trying to be very private about what he's going to decide. Of course, they're talking to Jermaine Gresham, the fine tight end, who's out for the season as well. Everybody's speculating what he might do. He wants to stay private. He's not going to talk to any media until he's made his decision, and I respect that. And you saw Jermaine Gresham out. Also, DeMarco Murray will not go today after his ankle injury last week. So that's 3 guys, potential All-Americans, all on the sidelines for the Sooners.
You're right. And defensively, the Sooners proved last week that they are, if not the best, one of the best defensive units in the country.
What a great defensive line. But one guy that's been jumping off the film, we saw him a couple of weeks ago against Baylor, and 4 games in a row, Brian Jackson has an interception. It's only happened one other time in OU history, and he's got big duty today. Desmond Briscoe, one of the best receivers in the country, went for 269 receiving yards last year. This young man's job is to slow him down.
Well, we kind of thought that KU might come into this ball game undefeated at 6-0, but I mean, and they were within a breath of doing just that, but a pass in the end zone and Briscoe couldn't handle it at the very end of the Colorado game, and so they are 5-1. Talk about their quarterback, Todd Reesing. Again, it's another Big 12 quarterback that doesn't get his due, I think.
Well, when you talk to Brent Venables, the defensive coordinator from Oklahoma, he gives him plenty of due. 5'10", 5'11" guy, runs around, makes great plays, and his coach, Mark Mangino, told us this week he borders on cocky, loves this type of matchup, wants to show he's the best. I mentioned Desmond Briscoe. When you add in Kerry Meyer, those 2 receivers, statistically, the best in the country.
And taking the field right now, here come the visiting Oklahoma Sooners. And now the homestanding Jayhawks of Kansas. Coming up, it's the opening kickoff. Big 12 action between the Jayhawks and the Sooners. University of Kansas Memorial Stadium, and this house is beginning to fill up on a really beautiful afternoon as you look at Bob Stoops, the head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners, 5-0, his career mark against the Jayhawks. And across the way, the gentleman who went to Norman on the original staff with Bob Stoops, Mark Mangino. And he's done a really nice job here at KU. He is 0-3 against his former mentor in Bob Stoops and the Oklahoma Sooners. Kansas State in the north with a 2-1 record, then followed by KU, Nebraska, and Colorado. Iowa State and Missouri. And Missouri really surprisingly in the cellar at 0-2. They got a huge one tonight at home against Texas. Speaking of Texas, 3-0 in conference play. Oklahoma State, strong showing today. Texas Tech, then Oklahoma, A&M, and Baylor. Well, and here is the young man who will get the start at quarterback, replacing Sam Bradford, Landry Jones. And I'll tell you one thing, we'll talk more about him. OU won the toss and they have deferred. But Landry has the right temperament and personality, particularly in a situation like this where all of a sudden you are, then you're not, then you are, and then now he is the man and probably will be for the remainder of the season. But he's very poised and very laid back.
And the coaches talk about how similar he is in that way to Sam Bradford. Of course, getting to know Sam over the last 3 years. He's very laid back and loose, and they say that's one of the reasons it's been easy when Landry has had to come in either because Sam was hurt or to be the starter when Sam was on the shelf with that AC joint sprain. So it's been an easy transition when Landry's had to come in.
Marlin with the kickoff, and there's a little bit of a breeze in that direction. And Briscoe is going to go down on one knee, 5 yards deep. So let's take a look at the quarterback profile. The young man who played at Lake Travis High School in the Austin area, Todd Reesing, another one of these quarterbacks that we talk about, came out of a system on that 7-on-7, that kind of upbringing, and it really puts these guys miles ahead.
Yeah, the state of Texas a few years ago allowed high schools to start having leagues during the spring and summer of 7-on-7, so there's no D-line or O-line, and you're starting to see a lot of good quarterbacks come out of that state, whereas in the past, saw a lot of good running backs, a lot of good defenders, but now you're starting to see a lot of great quarterbacks because of that high school system.
Yeah, a lot of good wishbone quarterbacks, but not passing quarterbacks. Racing, stop and go, play action, and the ball is intercepted at the 45-yard line by Oklahoma, and it is Quentin Carter, the junior out of Las Vegas. The pass was just a touch too long.
Well, Reesing just let this go, and watch how long he's trying to get to Briscoe, and he just watches too long out there. They were running a fake screen, and the ball hung up there, and it was a good read by Quentin Carter, and unfortunately for Kansas, this has got to feel like, uh-oh, here we go again. They had a terrible start in Boulder last week. 2 turnovers inside their own 5 in the first half. They were down 24-3 at one point during that game. Not a good start.
Landry Jones, will give you more on him in just a moment as he throws a completed pass to open the ball game to DeJuan Miller. And here's the quarterback profile.
And Jones, who came in last week for Sam Bradford after he went down in the second series, struggled a little bit down the stretch, had 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter. The last one, of course, Texas never gave the ball back to win 16-13.
Over the middle. That's Miller again. And I'll tell you, without the shoestring tackle, he had about another 10 yards in front. That's good for 13 yards. And Chris Harris finally made the tackle for the Jayhawks.
One thing Bradford has been asked to do by Kevin Wilson, the offensive coordinator today, is coach those young receivers. Get those guys focused.
Hurry up offense. This is Broyles. And a nice job by the Jayhawks as they corner him on defense. And it's time to take a look at the impact players, first of all, for Oklahoma.
And Broyles, of course, making that catch there back from the shoulder blade injury. Brody Eldridge has started 3 different positions, center, guard, and tight end, the most in college football. And Jeremy Beal has been on a tear this season. 12 tackles, a career high last week against Texas.
This is Brown. No, keeper to the quarterback. And Jones inside the 20, still putting on a move, and he takes it all the way down to the 11-yard line. A nice fake. 15 yards in the play, and again, Chris Harris makes the play. And look at the smile and the laugh from Sam Bradford as Sam's replacement, Landry Jones, 6'4", 216 pounds, showed some quicks. Tipped, and boy, that one could have been intercepted by Chris Harris. Very dangerous situation, but it falls incomplete.
And the Oklahoma offense, if you want to know why they haven't been as explosive as they were last year, unbelievable. Same amount of trips into the red zone, but down to 56% touchdowns. A lot of problems.
Coach Wilson said, too many field goals. We got to start scoring touchdowns.
Well, you just saw there, Khalid with the drop and almost an interception. It's been penalties and drops and things like that that have held him back.
Quick out pass. That is Broyles. Gets by a tackler and takes it down to around the 2-yard line.
Well, now you're in that situation. 3rd and 1. You can pick up the first down. Be interested to see what Kevin Wilson does here. I wouldn't be surprised, maybe a play fake to bring those safeties and see if you can't get someone like DeJuan Miller free in the back of the end zone.
No score. Early going. 13 minutes left opening quarter. But it is Oklahoma knocking on the door following an interception. An interception by Quentin Carter. Straight ahead, close to the goal line, and it is now signaled touchdown.
looked like Landry Jones was going to go into the shotgun formation, and I don't think Kansas ever adjusted to him going underneath center. Good push. That's John Williams, the freshman defensive tackle who just got moved over. I think they're going to review whether he broke the play. Yeah.
So as the review begins, we'll take one more look at it.
What a great job by Brody Eldridge and left tackle Trent Williams. Yeah, I think he may have been down. Yeah.
You know, Ed, I can't put enough emphasis on team and just saying, hey, whatever you need, I'm here to help you out. Brody Eldridge, who is from the state of Kansas, from Lacine, Kansas. You know, he is a tight end. He has played in the interior. He's played center. Then he moving back to tight end. One year was the tight end of the year in the Big 12 Conference. Never caught a ball, but that's how good he was at blocking.
Yeah. And it looks like Landry's down, but they'll have the first down, first and goal. But that block right there, that's why they have to move him into guard. You know, you get Brian Simmons, who's out with a knee injury. And so Brody Eldridge, who had to start center, at center against BYU because Ben Hayburn, the guy they were expecting to start, was out with a back injury. Then he goes back to tight end. Now he comes back to guard.
After further review, it is not a touchdown, but it is a first down at the 2-yard line. First down.
So the good news is, KU fans, it is not a touchdown. The bad news is it is a first down in inches to the goal line. And
the way your left side just blocked behind Brody Eldridge, why not just run a quarterback sneak up behind number 50 again?
You know what else he brings to the party? A 265-pound tight end. He is undersized for a guard, but his experience and also his leadership ability, I think, you know, probably it makes up for that 35 pounds that he doesn't have that most guards do have.
Question becomes, does he want to, as a senior, gain about 20 pounds and try to become an offensive lineman at the next level? When I'd have a shot.
Before this afternoon's over, I want you to talk about that as they go with quarterback sneak. And from where they're spotting it, he is not going to take it in on this first down play. Because think about that and give us an answer a little bit later on. Would he be better suited to do it than to do it as a tight end, Ed?
Well, he a little limited in space. Obviously, you lose Jermaine Gresham here, so I would suspect the same thing with the run, but he gets his pads down.
9th play of the drive. And I don't think he made it. It is now 3rd down. Justin Springer this time. And Coach Stoops is saying, guys, we only need an inch. What's wrong? And now this crowd, and they're moving right into the heavy area of the student section. 3rd down and goal. Brown, he's not going to have it. In fact, he loses about 1.5 yards. Darryl Stuckey got outside to make the hit.
Well, instead of going in the middle, Kevin Wilson bounces it now inside the 2-yard line. Bob Stoops going for it here. Now I think you have to think, because you're back now, I think you have to think play action. I like them going for it because you don't get it. Your defense can take over, but I think you think play action pass here.
Hard count, then comes out and looks back. And he's going to stay under center. Tries the other side. Touchdown, Oklahoma. Chris Brown, great block to Matt Clapp, the senior out of Phoenix.
Good job by Trent Williams, the left tackle. Little bit of a takedown. His left arm was on the outside of Laptad, the defensive end. Got a takedown block, and Brown cuts right behind him for the touchdown.
Tressway will attempt the extra point rather than Jimmy Stevens. And he knocks it home. So the Sooners take advantage of a turnover. An intercepted pass made by Quentin Carter. And it is 7-0, Oklahoma. So we are back at Memorial Stadium in Lawrence, Kansas, and you take a look at the man who just directed a drive of 11 plays, 46 yards, 3 minutes and 49 seconds, and the only thing I have a feeling that the OU coaches are going to talked to the players about is they had 5 snaps inside the 2-yard line. And they scored. That's the most important thing.
And the struggles this year fall right on the offensive line. And that's a problem. When you get inside that 5-yard line, you're trying to pound it. If you're not clean on your offensive line, you're missing some assignments, that's going to be a problem. That time at the end, pretty good blocking on that last run.
Moreland with the kick. This one is returnable. And it's Briscoe. Oh, my goodness. Does he get belted? Just short of the 20-yard line. And that would be Ronell Lewis, a reserve linebacker playing on the special teams. As you can see, Briscoe is shaken up, and I can certainly understand why. Desmond is not a small youngster. It's 6'3", about 210 pounds, but he is going back down and is not off the field. And they're going to have to bring the training staff out and take a closer look at him.
Well, this would be an absolutely huge loss for KU. This is the #1, just a good arms around helmet right in the midsection. And if you're KU, you hope that all Briscoe has is the wind knocked out of him. Because this is the #1 receiver yardage per game in the country. He had 269 yards, a Big 12 record last year against OU. So cannot lose that guy if you're Mark Mangino.
Well, here's a reminder, Ed, this week on Saturday Night Football, ABC delivers 2 must-win games. Most of the nation are going to see #3 Texas in a critical conference showdown when they hit the road to face Missouri. And the rest of the nation will see Oregon State take on #7, the Trojans of USC. Saturday Night Football presented by Southwest Airlines tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Meyer, of course, used to be the starting quarterback until Todd Reesing got here. This is going to be Jake Sharp as a flag comes down, and I'm afraid that's thrown by the umpire. Ryan Jackson making the tackle.
Personal foul, chop blocked by number 72 of the offense. Penalties half the distance to the goal, and it's still first down.
Let's take a look at the impact players for the Kansas Jayhawks.
Well, Jake Sharp, who had a calf injury, missed a month, came back against Colorado, is not quite 100%, should be today. They'll need him, especially now that Desmond Briscoe is out, and Jonathan Wilson, a good tall receiver, may have to step up his game as well. And Jake Laptad played lights out last week against Colorado, had great effort, good pass rusher off the edge.
So just what Mark Mangino did not want to happen against Oklahoma, a team with this kind of speed, as Reesing is going to run a little quarterback draw. Has the 10 back, plus about 8 more. Todd Reesing out to the 28-yard line, and Jonathan Nelson on the stop. But the point I was going to make, as fast as OU is on defense, you do not want to play behind the chains much at all.
Excellent job by Jake Sharp getting up right here on the linebacker. He's going one-on-one against Travis Lewis. And that there could have been helmet-to-helmet hit.
O'Perham checks into the ball game at tailback, number 35. Tobin is a freshman out of Plano, Texas, played at Plano East. Oklahoma jumps up showing blitz with Travis Lewis. And now here they come again, and the handoff goes to O'Perham, and he not only will have the first down, he'll have about 5 yards more. It's Keenan Clayton on the stop. Ed, how about your game plan for the Jayhawks on offense?
Well, with this defensive line, you've got to move the pocket, move Reesing around, get Sharp out of the backfield some on some screens, and discipline rush lanes for Oklahoma because Reesing can really move around.
Kerry Meyer, the receiver, out across the 45, and now they move the chains again. So this is more akin to what the coaches had put down the way they wanted to start.
And KU now looking like they want to get into the hurry-up mode a little bit.
Yeah, and good news for KU fans. Desmond Briscoe back into the lineup. Pass out to Meyer again. Steps out of bounds, but it's good for 5.
And this is one thing that you're going to see. They have such a good complement between Briscoe and Meyer. And Briscoe's still holding his stomach. I'm not sure he's 100% healthy. Maybe that'll start to wear off as the game goes on, but every time he goes to take a break, he's holding that midsection.
Yeah, he really took a shot. 7-0 Sooners. Going under 9 minutes to play, first quarter. Here's Sharp. Has a nice opening at right guard inside the 45. and he's down to within a half yard of the first down. Austin English defensively for the Sooners.
And Briscoe, every time after that kickoff return where he took the shot in the midsection, he's just holding it. Maybe just a severe bruise, but he is really favoring that right part of his abdomen.
Little Purim comes into the ball game. He obviously is their short yardage back. He checks in with a third down and maybe just a couple of feet, and that's it. You see Oklahoma crowding the line, and then they back off. Purim right up the middle. First down. I'll tell you what, he moves the pile once he gets hit. Travis Lewis made the contact at around the 40, and he pushed him back almost to the 36.
Yeah, and it's so nice that O'Purim was able to get into the flow when Jake Sharp hurt his calf and missed a month after that Duke game. O'Purim, a true freshman at 235 pounds, they knew they had established a guy for the quicker, sharp, the more powerful O'Purim.
Reesing gives it to O'Purim again, and this time the middle of that defensive front. Austin English makes the hit. Matt Weinert, let's check in with you in New York. How's the weather up there, my friend? Okay, Matt, that is a shocker. Iowa State playing a lot better. Now this is back-to-back losses for the group in Nebraska, and not good news. Those fans up there were boos last week. I can imagine what happened this afternoon.
Well, with that defense not able to get things going on offense, and now you look at the Big 12 North, and you got to start thinking maybe a two-loss team limps into the Big 12 championship. They're all just beating each other up now.
Here, our situation, it is a third down, and the line to make is the 26 of Oklahoma. Sooners lead it 7-0. Reesing going to take off, and he's got plenty of room. Has the first down as he slides inside the 25. Quentin Carter was there to make the tackle. Quentin is the man who got the Sooners going this afternoon with an interception. But Reesing doing what he does best, and that is to take this offense and just say, hey, get on my back, boys. I'm going to lead you to the promised land.
And I really like that call by Ed Warner, the offensive coordinator. Of course, Mark Mangino involved in the play calling. That was a designed run, a very late quarterback draw.
10th play of the drive. Delivers the pass. It is batted down. And the guy who got up there, Jeremy Beal, the junior out of Carrollton, Texas, and he has been on a tear. Ed has talked about him when we had the game against Baylor down in Norman, and also watching him last week against the Longhorns of Texas.
Has 2 3-sack games this year against Tulsa and Miami. First time that's ever happened in Sooner history. And they've had a couple of pretty good defensive linemen.
Well, and he is now a defensive lineman, but he came as a middle linebacker. Possesses that kind of speed. Reesing probably with an audible right here as Lewis showed blitz, and now he's going to come anyway. Pass far sideline, and it is intercepted, and that's Jeremy Beal who will make the pickoff for OU. And I couldn't tell. I thought he was just trying to throw it away.
I think Adrian Taylor, when he was finishing his rush, and Reesing's looking up at the screen to see the replay because I think he's concerned. But Adrian Taylor right there tipped it. Yeah, he was going for the corner route to Meyer and got tipped by Taylor.
ESPN's College Football on ABC. Brought to you by Kay Jewelers, the #1 jewelry store in America. The Porsche Panamera, 4 uncompromised. And Chick-fil-A, we didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich.
Shockey's Pumpkin Patch is a working farm and a 24-acre pumpkin patch with hay rides that take guests to pick their own pumpkins right off the pine. And as you can see, the kids and even some lost adults have a very good time out there. That time of year in a beautiful, beautiful setting around this campus with all the leaves that have turned. 7-0. Oklahoma. 2 interceptions in this first quarter. Landry Jones delivers, and it's complete at the 29.
You know, interesting, a very similar start for Kansas like they had last week up in Boulder. 2 turnovers early. Now, those were inside their own 5, but they just have to feel like, man, we cannot get started properly.
Last week it was 1, 2, 3 out, 1, 2, 3 out. At least they didn't turn it over, but they did not move it as they get it out to Broyles. And Broyles will have the first down out to around the 38. Let's take a look at the game plan, the one that you have for the Oklahoma Sooners.
Well, feed Broyles often. Thank you, Kevin Wilson, for calling that right before we put the game plan. He's the guy who can make things happen in space. And with DeMarco Murray out, Chris Brown, a 4-yard run is a good play, pounded inside. For Kansas up front, stunt your defensive line, move them around and blitzes. This offensive line has had trouble with movement throughout the season.
Over the middle, the ball incomplete, thrown too high for Miller.
Well, you look at this Oklahoma offense and the people that they're missing. DeMarco Murray hurt his ankle against Texas, unable to go today. He tried to practice on Thursday. Of course, Jermaine Gresham has been out since August, will not be back this season. Sam Bradford, to get a guy like Broyles back is a big deal because he's a difference maker.
Well, for Jones now, 6 of 8, 43 yards. Far sideline, this one incomplete, and that one thrown just a little too tall for Broyles.
And Broyles, a guy that they didn't even suspect was going to play much last week. Now the crowd's starting to get into it because they need something here, 3rd and 10. And maybe a wide receiver screen. Broyles right here.
Line to make the 48. Here comes the blitz. Off the corner, fumbles the ball, and recovered by Kansas. And on the football is Darrell Stuckey.
And there is,
and he's the man who made the hit
and
as well.
I think he may have been offsides.
Oh my.
Yeah, I think when they were inching towards the line of scrimmage.
Offside on the defense. A 5-yard penalty and replay 3rd down.
Wow, what a huge, huge break. Here's Stuckey here as he creeps up. No, they got the bottom defensive end. He jumped right into the line. That's Jeff Wheeler. Yeah. I saw movement on that side where Stuckey came. I thought it might have been Stuckey jumping the gun, but what a huge, huge mistake by the senior Wheeler. Got caught listening to the snap count. You hear defensive line coaches all the time, and I promise you,
got to watch the football.
Got to watch it. Cannot listen to that quarterback, and you saw him lurch. He was listening to the snap count instead of watching the ball.
Empty backfield, 5 wide receivers, Oklahoma. And they throw to the other side, and the pass. Cameron Kenny can't hold on. It looked as though that they were going to hit a big gainer right up the sideline. Covering on the play was Darrell Stuckey. So Jones, the last 3 has been off the mark.
Yeah, and that's Josh Heupel, the quarterback of the 2000 national champion Sooners, who's now the quarterback's coach, talking to him.
Keep one thing in mind. This could be difficult for KU, and whether they should catch the ball if it's inside the 10. There is still a monster win behind the punter. And here's the kick, and it's a great coverage kick. And he's going to run away from it. That's exactly what he should have done, because that wind grabbed it instead of taking the ball over inside the 5. 57 yards. So remember when, and here are some guys in Pee Wee football. Todd Reesing. How about Desmond Briscoe? Kerry Meyer, wide receiver, came here as a quarterback. Jake Sharp, the running back. And here is Darrell Stuckey, the Kansas all-everything safety. That's a fun thing. We always enjoy getting those and seeing the guys that are regulars playing in Division I football in the Big 12 Conference and show them as Pee-wees.
Stuckey made a really nice play on that blitz, and then they got the penalty, but still got the stop. That was a big stop, I think, for Darrell Stuckey and his mates.
Oklahoma showing blitz. And they come off the corner, and the pass thrown just a little bit too far. And Jeremy Beal, I think, got a hand on that one.
Boy, Beal is just, his recognition, you can tell when the light goes on for a guy and the game slows down. You mentioned he was a middle linebacker. He was stuck at third string. Brent Venables moved him to defensive end so he could become second string, thinking he may move him back eventually. But he's really settled in. That time they ran a misdirection. He stayed right at home, and Reesing had to throw it much earlier than he wanted to because of Beal in his face.
Beery was the intended receiver. Second down and 10. KU has started all 3 drives at their own 20. Looking over the middle, has it complete to Briscoe. Short of the first down, it's going to be 3rd down and 2.
Well, and this is going to be the matchup the entire game. Jackson against Briscoe. That's zone coverage. So when Briscoe goes to cross the middle of the field, Jackson releases him to the linebacker, Ryan Reynolds. And Reynolds does a good job, but that was a nice route by Briscoe, coming to the middle and then cutting back towards his quarterback.
Oklahoma did such a good job last week against the Texas Longhorns. Jordan Shipley had a tough time getting open, and Briscoe witnessing that same thing here this afternoon. 3rd down and 2. Opurum right at the middle, and with the second effort, he got it.
So last year, Desmond Briscoe had a huge game, and a lot of it came while number 2, Brian Jackson, was in coverage. Here he goes to jam and misses and then slips on a long touchdown throw. And Brian Jackson said, I'm going to play with a chip on my shoulder this week. He's played much better as a senior. Brent Venables talks about how he's gotten more focused play in and play out. Last year lacked a little bit of that focus and has really upped his draft status because of that.
Hello, Purim again. Nothing doing. Boy, a hit behind the line of scrimmage by Gerald McCoy. It'll be a loss of 3.
And this defensive line will play every snap. The defensive tackles last week, Adrian Taylor and Gerald McCoy, played all 80 snaps. They'd love to have some depth, but they're redshirting DeMarcus Granger. So Brent Venables was saying, look, if they were playing at 60 or 70% of their ability in the fourth quarter, I'd roll some guys in. But late in the game, they're still playing at a very high level. So why take them off the field?
Again, Kansas right here, playing behind the sticks. Racing, safety valve, and Opurum had slipped down trying to come back for the ball. Well, there's a new place to go to get the latest on the teams you care about most. ESPNDallas.com. The Falcons-Cowboys game on Sunday, Texas and Missouri tonight, and the Mavericks and the Stars. Get it all at ESPNDallas.com.
Now you've got Kerry Meyer lined up in the slot to the right. Briscoe one-on-one up top.
Kansas is 3 of 3 on 3rd down conversions. This one here is a little bit higher mountain to climb, though. They got 13 yards to pick up. Blitz coming up the middle. Shovel pass, and Sharp dropped it. And I'll tell you, it was set. They might have been able to pick that thing up, but it's going to be 4th down. And the dangerous thing is we're still in the first quarter, and they're going to be punting into the wind. Now, I have to say, Rojas, to me, is one of the liveliest legs I have seen this year. He was booting them very well into the wind. But with the wind, he can flip the field in a hurry.
They do some of those rugby kicks. Wouldn't be surprised if he rolls one way and kicks it low.
But that's the reason OU has a short man and a deep man for that very thing. So he kicks it away. This is a great kick into the wind. Fair catch is signaled for and made by Franks at the 25-yard line. 47 yards into a gusting wind tells you something about what he might do if you put the wind behind him.
And for Mark Mangino and his defensive staff, of course, made huge changes last week going into the Colorado game. They had 6 new faces play on defense. Angus Quigley, a former linebacker. Clint Bowen, the defensive coordinator, told us that they just needed to get some more athletic guys on the field. Last week was the first week they think they've got the guys they need. They just need reps.
Calhoun into the backfield at tailback. And the pass goes out to Broyles. And I'll tell you what, now that is a difficult situation when you are not only on an island, but DJ Bashirs is a freshman, was a running back, wide receiver, punt returner, and he's out there playing defense against one of the most dangerous in space in Broyles.
And he's one of the guys who got his first time on the season last week against Colorado. So add that into that equation as well.
Here comes a blitz coming right up the middle, picked up nicely by the Sooners. Pass is too tall and incomplete. Caleb, the intended receiver. And in the last, Big E, let's double check on his last 6 or 7 passes. He has not been as good as he started off. The last 5, he's 1 of 5. Yeah.
And that throw there, it's like he held on to it just a touch too long. He had the receiver open and just held on to it. Felt like a touch too long, and it sailed on him.
3rd down, line to make, the 35. Sooners lead it 7-0. About to go into 2 minutes to play in this opening quarter. Jones on the comeback. Nice job of pitch and catch. Jazz Reynolds, a speed guy, a freshman out of Houston, Texas, makes the reception, and it's not enough for the 1st down. He did come back and help his quarterback, but they're going to have to kick it away.
And Clint Bowen, the defensive coordinator, doing his best Brent Venables impersonation over there, jumping up and down. But that time it's a young quarterback. He had Adrian Tennell on the backside of where he threw, running a deeper route, but he comes back to a receiver that's 4 or 5 yards short of the stick.
Tress Way comes in to kick. Left footer, and not a good kick, off the side of his foot. But it does take an Oklahoma bounce and is touched dead at the 29. And Matt, let's go back to New York and check with you. What do you got for us? Okay, Matt, thanks very much. That Cincinnati Ball Club, very impressive. Coach Kelly has done really good work there. He did in his first head coaching job as well in a subdivision team.
Foul. A false start by number 69 of the offense. It's a 5-yard penalty, and it's still 1st down.
Well, your defense is helping you out, and for KU's offense, it's going to take them a while against this defense if they keep going backwards, getting to these numbers.
Well, again, I go back to the point of playing behind the sticks. That's a redshirt freshman, Maringelli, out of Austin, Texas, played at Westwood High School. Trevor, 6'4", 285. Yep. Oklahoma's defense does not need any help. You're right. Shovel pass. This is what they wanted a while ago, and Sharp breaks off the tackle, and he's in the open field. Sharp. From behind, he is down at the 20-yard line. Ibeloy makes the tackle, but it's a gain of 56 yards.
Well, there's a great rule for play calling, and that is if you do something, whether it works or not, if it looked like it was going to work and there was a drop,
didn't it?
Yes. You called it on that 3rd and long when they tried this before, and here comes Kansas going fast. I like this by them.
Quick out pass, and it is caught by Meyer, and he turns it up, steps out of bounds. I'm going to say it around the 15-yard line. Ibeloy is there to make the stop.
And Meyer, who set the KU record last year with 97 catches, now has 55, and we're just getting to that halfway point of the season, so he may break his own record this year.
I thought Franks was going to pick that ball off. He
sure
read it the whole way, didn't it?
Yep.
2nd down and 5. Jayhawks trying to tie this thing up. We had 45 seconds and counting left in the opening quarter. Jake Sharp. Not really any gain. It's going to be a 3rd down. Adrian Taylor making the stop.
Well, now you're sitting here at 3rd and 5, and Reesing he's shown how good he is in the open field running. So maybe a bootleg, something like that. Get him in space. I don't know how much
he's
you
good
want
at
him.
You're right. In between the tackles, he can get engulfed in a hurry. And when a guy 300 pounds grabs you, if you're 195, you're not going very far.
And he's 5'10", 5'11", so he has a tough time seeing. 3-man rush here by Oklahoma. So they may be protecting the edge for that exact thing, a rollout by the quarterback.
That is the end of the 1st quarter. So we head to the 2nd. 7-0. Sooners on top. We'll be right back. thanks to the Kansas cheerleaders. It's been a great day. Partially cloudy now, but the temperature around 60 degrees, very comfortable. Defense in the first quarter kept KU in this thing. We'll see if the wind helps them now.
You know, it's interesting because all of those mid-season changes that they made before Colorado last week, 6 new guys playing on defense, seem to be paying off. 2 turnovers for KU's offense and only 7 points. So now it's Kansas's turn, 3rd and 5. You know, that shovel pass worked pretty well. Maybe a draw by the quarterback here to take advantage of that speed of Oklahoma's defensive front.
Yeah, they have been so aggressive, and they're showing it again right here. And, you know, maybe some stuff just like that, Ed, to make them stay honest. They're showing blitz again as Reesing looks back to the sideline. And he's going to have to call a timeout, so they did not get a penalty. So we'll take a timeout with them. 7-0, and Jayhawks are threatening.
Buffalo Wild Wings presents the top 30 plays of the last 30 years. 19. Facing 4th down and 12, Alabama quarterback Brody Croyle decided to go long and let wide receiver Tyrone Prothro make an amazing catch.
He catches off his back and holding on to the football. That might be one of the best catches I've ever seen. That is the catch of the year in college football.
Follow the top 30 countdown all season long. Brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings.
By the way, that catch by Prothro set up the first of 3 unanswered touchdowns for Alabama at a 30-21 win. And be sure and see play number 18 revealed tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Opurum comes into the ball game at running back. It's 3rd down. They need to take it to the 10-yard line. Quarterback draw, going to have the first down, and it looked for the world as though he was going to be tackled after a gain of 1, and McCoy could not get a positive hold on him. Watch this.
Watch how long he waits. He does a really nice job with his fake, and that allows the defenders to get up the field. Good patience. A lot of times when you call that quarterback draw, especially on a 3rd and 5 situation, quarterback gets a little antsy, and if he takes off too soon, it allows the defense to close in.
I don't know if it was supposed to be a play action or not. I think Opurum was looking toward the sideline, and the ball was snapped, and thus a lost play and lost yards. Beal and English came in to make the stop.
Really impressive that Kansas has been able to hold Oklahoma to 66 yards. I know Oklahoma is struggling offensively. That's been talked about ad nauseum, but with 2 turnovers, of course, one of them on your side of the field, but I think they've done a nice job with all these new bodies in there. Seem to have a good plan.
Yep, they have. Lausonette play pushes it back to the 13-yard line, so 2nd and goal. Jonathan Wilson is a man who had a really good game last weekend. Let's see if they look for him. Nope. Intercepted. This one's gone. 85 yards it's going to be. Dominique Franks. Count them all. 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown. And Oklahoma on a gift. Goes on top 13-0.
Well, that's 3rd interception of the game by Todd Reesing. One, of course, was tipped by Adrian Taylor, so tough to blame him on that. But that one and the one that was intercepted to Briscoe earlier, he just told the entire defense. Dominique Franks sat on that thing and came up and read it.
And I wish he had gone to the guy I was talking about, because Jonathan Wilson had man coverage in the end zone. Tressway with the extra point, 14-0 Sooners. And as we go to break, let's take one more look at it from behind.
Well, you have to know that there's zone coverage by Oklahoma. And when you look over to receiver, this is a running back. This is a very, very long throw.
ESPN's College Football on ABC. Brought to you by Dodge Ram, the truck that never backs down from a challenge. Aflac, we've got you under our wing. And AT&T, your world delivered.
Jayhawk Boulevard emerged running parallel to the Oregon Trail, and now in full bloom. It's lined with 16 buildings reflecting more than 125 years of campus history. Well, some of the enthusiasm from the home folks just went up in just like you punctured a balloon, because that, as Ed said, and he's going to show it after this kickoff here and tell you a little bit more about what happens when we look at the wide shot, the all 22. It just that thing was telegraphed.
Yep. And if you're Kansas now, and they talk all the time, the coach talk about Todd Reesing and his confidence that he's able to flush bad plays. Well, he's had his share in the last 2 ball games in the first half of both games. A lot to flush.
3 interceptions in his first half. Ball is picked up late. And this is a great job by McDougal. And McDougal is the man who was the intended receiver on that last play. Now let's take a look at our city inside view.
I had mistakenly said running back, but it was McDougal, the wide receiver, who's lined up in the middle of the 3 receivers. But watch Dominic Franks in the pre-snap read for the quarterback. He sees that he's square for man coverage, but right at the last second, he turns and he's looking back inside. Reesing has to know that this is zone coverage. Now, McDougal, the freshman, needs to come back and try to make a play on that ball as well. You can't just sit and wait for it. But senior quarterback's got to see pre-snap read. The cornerback turned, started looking in. You've got to know that that is zone coverage and that cornerback is going to be squatting on that route.
And Sharp is going to take it for a gain of about 3. All right, that's 3 interceptions here in the first half. How hard is it to get your focus back, even as a veteran and a fighter as Todd Reesing is?
Well, through the years, he's been very good at it. But I go back to last week against Colorado. He just did not play well in that first half. So I would think with all of that on his mind, probably not as good as he's been in the past. And I think this game really swings in the balance of whether he can get his focus back and make some plays.
Reesing got it complete. There's Briscoe.
Number 80, Desmond.
Okay, now it's time for our Aflac trivia question.
Aflac.
Who is widely credited with inventing the first football helmet? Who was widely credited with inventing the first football helmet? We'll come back with that Aflac answer before halftime. So they move the sticks, and it's a 1st and 10 at the Oklahoma 37. Sharp again, tagged at the line of scrimmage, spins it off for a couple of yards, and then that is it. Travis Lewis and Ryan Reynolds, 2 of the linebackers, are there to make the tackle.
Ryan Reynolds has been petitioning the NCAA already for a 6th year. He's had 3 knee surgeries during his career at Oklahoma. Of course, last year got hurt against Texas, was out for the rest of the year. So hopes to hear maybe before the end of the season, if he'll get that 6th year of eligibility, that they don't give him out all the time, but if you've had a bunch of injuries, they will.
Well, Jordan Shipley,
yes,
down at Texas, is an example, and he got a 6th year. Little option play, pitches it back to Sharp. And defensively, Brian Jackson said, I'm not going to let you beyond where I'm standing, and he did not. They're stopped at the 31.
You know, in this crowd, you mentioned, Ron, we came back, how dead they've become. But you're down 14. Your quarterback makes a nice play. Briscoe makes a nice play to get over the plus side of the field. 3rd and 5. Get a conversion, maybe a slant. Well, you got everybody bunched in. Look for an out cut by your top receiver, Wilson, maybe. But if you can pick up this first down, you're in this ballgame. But it doesn't feel like it in this building, does it?
Boy, 85 yards worth of misery. They had to watch it. And timeout was called by Oklahoma.
Timeout. Oklahoma.
So we'll take the break with them. 14-0 Sooners, and the Jayhawks are driving. So we are back. It is 3rd down, and the line to make is the 28-yard line, actually the 27-yard line of the Sooners. They lead 14-0. Kansas 28 snaps, 14 of those in OU territory, but no points. Pass caught by Meyer, but he caught it out of bounds. Could not come down inbounds with it. A little too tall, and it's going to be 4th down.
Well, and here comes Brandstetter. This is right. You know, this is right at the edge of his range with the wind behind him, though. I think this is why Mark Mangino feels good about this. You've been mentioning that right to left wind. So this is right on the edge of his range.
Yeah, 48 is what Mark said his was about the distance, but it's going to be officially a 49-yarder, and that wind is continuing at his back. So if it's going to be a punt, pooch kick. At the 5, rolling, touch dead at the 3-yard line by KU. So, the Aflac trivia question: who was widely credited with inventing the first football helmet? And the answer is same guy that started basketball right here on this campus, Dr. James Naismith.
Well, he was a physical education teacher at Springfield College at the time, and he got tired of his ears being bruised, so he cut a football in half and put it over his head. His head coach at the time, Amos Alonzo Stead, and there it is. Yeah. And a year later, Dr. Naismith decided to put a peach basket on a pole and started basketball.
Chris Brown, the ball carrier, and there's not much there as he is stopped at the 4-yard line. You know, one of the things that you have to learn as an incoming freshman, Dr. Naismith not only started the game of basketball, but he was the first basketball coach here on the Hill. We'll talk more about it here as they're running another play, and Jones throws complete to Broyles at the 15-yard line, and he is bumped out at around the 17. Good for the first down. But I'll complete that. As a freshman, you have to know that Dr. Naismith is the only basketball coach in the history of this school who finished his career with a losing record. May have started a game, but he didn't coach it worth a darn. Broyles to the other side. They are trying their best to get him free, get him out in space, and Ryan Murphy made that tackle.
Well, he is such a good runner once he gets the ball in his hands. He's got good hands, so he catches it very quickly. And we had his breakout game last year against Cincinnati, and the coaches did not suspect he'd be able to play very much last week against Texas, but played almost the entire ball game.
Handoff to Brown, and that's going to be about 4 yards in the play. Brody Eldridge, wearing number 50, continues to work. There he is right there. Continues to work at guard. Brian Simmons unable to go, and Brody, of course, is a tight end, but he came as a lineman, moved to tight end, moved him back last year a little bit, took him back to tight end, and now they have him as a regular. Tackled from behind. Boy, that is a nice job by Anye Boulay.
And we were looking at the film against Colorado, and Anye Boulay is a big, long, good-looking athlete. That time, they left him unblocked on the backside. He came down, but now susceptible maybe to a bootleg.
3rd down, Ed, and they got to take it out to the 39-yard line. Sooners on top, 14-0. Pressure off the corner, and the ball is caught at the 35 by Tennell. Adrian Tennell, a senior out of Irving, Texas. And it was Tharp, Halden Tharp, who was coming really strongly against the quarterback, a freshman. He is out of Mulvane, Kansas. So it's punting time for the Sooners. Well, and for the first time today, Tress Way is going to have to look into this win.
And these young players that the Jayhawk defensive staff put in there really playing well. Bashir's another sure tackle in space.
They got a 10-man rush at the line of scrimmage, but they have the return on. And here's the kick. It's going to be end over end, and it's going to take a KU bounce and go out of bounds. This will be the best starting position for Kansas this afternoon as they'll scrimmage from their own 36. Time now to take a look at our Pacific Life game summary.
Well, and both quarterbacks struggling a little bit. Jones, I know 10 of 15, but he's had a couple of times when it was that 3rd down where he's overthrown the ball, made a couple of bad decisions. He came down on a short receiver when he had Tennell on a route that looked open beyond the sticks. And, of course, Reesing ties a career high already with 3 interceptions.
racing. And that one is complete. There's Jonathan Wilson, the young man I was talking about, a junior out of Houston, Texas, played at Klein Forest High School. And he was very effective last week against Colorado.
And this looks very similar to last week in Boulder. And we should say Colorado looked like a whole different team than we saw a few weeks ago against Toledo. Tyler Hansen making a huge difference at quarterback for them. But offensively, they struggled in the first half as well.
Gerald McCoy with the stop on Jake Sharp. And from where they're going to spot this, does not have the first down. Third down coming. So immediately Opurum comes into the ball game, the larger back, 235 pounds. Well, and look at the way Gerald McCoy is playing. The Big 12 Conference could very well have 2 defensive linemen that go at least in the top 10. And if they both keep playing the way they are, Sue at Nebraska, of course, is the other way. They could be in the top 5. Opurum will have the first down.
Well, Mel Kiper, who has a big draft board that he updates throughout the years. Of course, he's been moving some of those quarterbacks down, Colt McCoy and, of course, Sam Bradford coming down. But he's put Ndamukong Suh at #1 on his big draft board going in.
And McCoy has, you know, if he's not in the top 5, he's
I think he's in there like 10, 11, 12 on Mel's board right now. This young man, even though he's just a junior, obviously eligible for the draft, has done such a nice job over the years, getting better with his hand placement, the way he moves offensive linemen with his hands. He's very powerful in his upper body.
Opurum. So it's a gain of 2, and a reminder coming up, the Capital One halftime report with scores and highlights from around the country coming up at halftime.
Well, and that pooch punt by Mark Mangino worked out pretty well. You know, I thought it looked to me like Brandstetter was capable of making that. It was right on the edge of his range. So, but for a second there, Oklahoma started moving. You had to, if you're Mangino, you're probably thinking, uh-oh, I may not have made the right choice, but seemed to have worked out.
Well, we had movement, and that's the reason the flag came down.
Prior to snap, a false start by number 74 of the offense. Penalties 5 yards, and it's still second down.
Jeff Spikes. You can't, you know, Kansas is just doing their best to get blown out of this game. You know, if they get the ball, they start moving. They have 171 yards of total offense, but nothing to show for it. And they just turnovers and penalties.
2 wide receivers each side in a stack position. OU fake the blitz. They stay at home, but they didn't need it. They get it with the 4-man rush. And it is Adrian Taylor, the junior out of Mansfield, Texas. Well, as the chase hits the halfway point, Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon will be looking to close the gap on the current points leader, Jimmy Johnson, as NASCAR's best head to the shortest track on the circuit. The chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup continues. They're in Martinsville, beginning tomorrow on ABC, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. The chase.
And here's that 3-man front with Jeremy Beal walking around. It's so difficult because you don't know where he's going to come from. He's a very good player on 2 feet.
Reesing overthrows Sharp, and it's simply because he had to get rid of it, and Adrian Taylor was busy tackling the quarterback just as the pass was delivered. And in fact, Taylor looks as though he might have come up wrong on either a right knee or right ankle. He's gingerly stepping off the field.
Oh, and he had the good sack earlier. And McCoy is a guy who gets all the press, but Taylor's been playing pretty well too. And
yes,
we talked about there's not a lot of depth in there for that Sooner defense.
Here's the kick by Rojas, and not one of his better efforts, but he's with the wind, and it's going to go out of bounds inside the 20-yard line. So we'll take a break. 14-0. It's been all Sooners so far. So we are back at Memorial Stadium in Lawrence, Kansas, and if you're just joining us, a short recap of the first half. 3 interceptions by the Oklahoma Sooners. And in fact, the Sooner offense has not tallied a point. Everything has come from the take it back. They've won.
But that was an interception on their side of the field, so they got a lot of help.
Quentin Carter with the interception, which led to a drive of 46 yards, I believe it was. And then, of course, the long interception return by Franks.
Yep.
And also Jeremy Beals has one. That running play has got to be very close to a first down as Broyles finally shoved out of bounds. And again, they continue to try to get him in space. He looks this week, although he scored from 35 yards last week against Texas, he looks as though that he feels better than he did last week in the Cotton Bowl. And here he is on the other side.
Well, a lot of times when you sit out, which, he hurt that shoulder blade against Miami. They expected him at first to be out 4 to 6 weeks. Then they said 2 to 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden he's back on the field after only missing Baylor. But, you got to get back in that flow a little bit. And then, of course, when a quarterback change happens, you've got to spend a week with Landry Jones running with the first unit. But you're right. He looks a lot smoother today than he did in the Cotton Bowl.
A little more bounce in his step. Blitz picked up nicely by Oklahoma. This pass is incomplete. Brandon Caleb kind of fought the football rather than making a catch as Chris Harris came over. I'll tell you who's had a good first half, and that is number 13, Lubbock Smith. And yesterday, as we watched the video of last week's game, I think he already has 5 tackles in this one. And that pass is going to be simply thrown away by Landry Jones.
Yep.
Oklahoma. And this is surprising because they have been either the leader or right at the top, not only this year, but last year and the year before in penalties. They have no penalties today.
Well, their offensive line had been tagged for a bunch of holding calls. Here now 3rd and 10. This Kansas defense continues to give good effort despite their offense not wanting to be in this ball game.
Jones. Incomplete, and the reason for it, a very good hit by the freshman Holden Tharp. And Laptad came over as well, but it was Tharp who knocked the ball loose.
Boy, that was such a great job by Laptad. The right defense, he was working in the middle against the center and did a great job. The defensive end, Laptad moved down over the middle, and that was great recognition by the senior. And Landry Jones, careful, you got to watch that. When a defensive lineman sticks home, you can throw that one in the ground. And I'm sure that's what Josh Heupel's telling him there.
Fumbled snap, going to be tackled at the 30, at the 25-yard line. Tress Way looked away just enough and fumbled the snap from center. And Bob Stoops is thinking, boy, we have no penalties. We're playing a pretty doggone smart first half with 3 interceptions. And then we do something foolish like that with 3:51 on the clock and giving Kansas an opportunity to salvage a bunch going in at halftime.
Well, I talk about it was special teams last week against Texas. He had the muffed punt by Dominique Franks, and then on the ensuing kickoff, you have the turnover by Moses Madu. So another costly turnover for Oklahoma on special teams.
Safety valve Briscoe. Travis Lewis came over to put the hit on him, and it'll be second down. Second down about 5.5 yards. Todd Racing has thrown a touchdown pass in 32 of 33 games started. And he's getting closer to having a golden opportunity right here. But no more long throws. Throw it over the middle or something a little bit shorter. He's very quick defensive backs from Oklahoma. Will take care of business there. Out in the flat, this is Meyer. Maintained possession as he got hit and the ball came loose. Brian Jackson was there on the tackle.
Well, this was the down and distance where they kind of like that quarterback draw or that shovel pass to Sharp. Now, for Oklahoma, you've got to think Brent Venables has been working his guys on the sideline, telling his defensive tackles to stay home and be ready for something in the middle of that defense. 3-man line by Oklahoma again.
You see Venables turn to the head coach and say, Coach, call a timeout.
Oklahoma, second of the half.
So we'll take a break. 14-0 OU. Jayhawks are threatening. ABC Comedy Wednesday. Modern Family is the #1 new comedy of the fall. Americans cannot stop talking about ABC's Modern Family. Wednesday, 9 o'clock, 8 Central. Now it may be 3rd down, but they're in 4-down territory. They got to get something on the board, and I would imagine they're looking for 7 and not 3. Looking for Kerry Meyer. Now he's going to run it. And look at the speed of Jeremy Beal. Could not get away from him. Beal weighs 261 pounds. And it just goes to show you what you are confronted with as a quarterback.
Yeah, and Kansas is going to go for it. Mark Mangino's now signaling to take a timeout. I'm on the fence here. I think you kick this field goal. I think you have to have points. 229. Oklahoma has not looked very good on offense. I think you got to take the points here and hope your defense can get a stop. Jeremy Beal banged up. That was a really nice play on the quarterback there.
So let's go back to New York. Matt Weiner, what do you have for us this time?
Midwest Airlines is Kansas City's favorite airline and the official airline of Kansas.
Okay, Matt, thanks so much. Our situation, it is a 4th down, and Kansas is going to go for it. They're down 14-0, and following a mishandled snap by the Oklahoma Sooners, and they got excellent field position. Tressway couldn't hold on, and now it would appear that they're going to go for the sure thing and try to go for a field goal here. Kerry Meyer down on one knee, and of course that's Brandstetter who will make the attempt. It'll be placed down at the 29-yard line. 39-yard attempt. He got it. 14-3. Let's take a break. So we are back at Memorial Stadium in Lawrence. You see Tressway pacing the sidelines, and got
bailed out by his defense there.
Yep, sure did.
That's kind of the story this year for Oklahoma. 3 losses by 5 total points to 3 teams in the top 16. And the defense has continued to play at an extremely high level. Despite turnovers, despite problems on offense, despite the red zone struggles, this defense has hung in there. You know, it's interesting talking to Brent Venables, and he was talking about how it's kind of human nature sometimes when you put that much effort in and you're going up against guys like Reesing and Colt McCoy and all these guys week in and week out. It's human nature to start wondering, should we keep investing? And he challenged his guys to keep doing it. Looks like they have.
Brandstetter prepares to kick it off, and 2 minutes and 3 seconds showing on the clock left in the second quarter. It's a good kick. Will not be returned. Madu says, nope, let's take a knee and go out to the 20-yard line. And so let's see what the Sooners can get here in 2:03.
Excuse me, Ron, but you know, you got a freshman quarterback, not the Heisman Trophy winner Sam Bradford. 1 timeout, 2:03 left. Now what your quarterback needs to know is if you start getting out towards midfield over the positive field, don't hold on to that 1 timeout. In other words, if you get something that's short of the sticks and your guys are all scrambled around, go ahead and use it, because that can take 16, 18 seconds off the clock. So don't be afraid to use that timeout. You can always do other things to stop the clock later.
Chris Brown is the setback. And Jones hands it to him, hit behind the line of scrimmage. Nice defensive play by Justin Springer.
Well, and Kansas with 1 timeout may not be able to, you know, 1 timeout they may be able to get the ball back, because I think what Bob Stoops is doing, and I agree with, is maybe just trying to run this clock out. And without DeMarco Murray, you're missing another playmaker. I wouldn't blame him at 14-3 trying to get out with a 14-3 lead.
Very wisely letting that play clock run down, which of course is taken down the game clock as well. Play clock is at 3, now at 2. Brown tries to turn the corner and is forced out of bounds. The first man to hit him was Holden Tharp.
And a little bit of a mistake by a senior. You're under 2 minutes, so now the clock stops. So Kansas with a timeout. They could get this back depending on the punt by Tress Way. Now, of course, third down, but I would think that Oklahoma's going to run it here again and try to get Kansas to have to burn that timeout.
Oklahoma on third down situations, 1 of 6. Jones, ball is tipped and it is intercepted. KU, that's Ryan Murphy. First turnover of the afternoon.
I'm not sure why you'd come off the plan. The plan was to run out the clock. And I know Tress Way had just messed up a snap earlier, your punter, but
that's not counted as a turnover.
Right. Oh, right, because it was punt. It's fourth down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I'm just not sure why you come off that plan of running the clock, and now you give a senior quarterback, although he's struggling, 1 timeout and 1:07 left on the short side of the field, and this thing can change around real quickly for Kansas.
First and 10, Kansas at the 30.
I tell you, that's a catchable ball by Cameron Kenny also, and I think that's what the head coach is telling him right now. 67 seconds is what they have to work with. Looking, got over the middle, wide open, and he dropped the ball. He dropped a touchdown pass. Desmond Briscoe. Woo! Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he almost caught it about 3 times. Blown coverage by Oklahoma. The safety had left the middle of the field. But don't get too frustrated now. You still got 1 minute and 2 seconds left with a timeout. He just batted that thing around, didn't he?
Whoa. Second down and 10. People trying to get their breath back, and there's going to be a sack at the 48-yard line. Second time that they have gotten to him. Jeremy Beal and Ryan Riddles will share on that sack.
And I think Kansas, I think they need to get their timeout here. I mean, everybody's walking back. I know you just got a negative yardage play, but all of that momentum, if you're able to pick up the first down, then you're not going to have any time to try for a touchdown. You're almost saying we're just going to have to kick a field goal here.
Well, on this third down play, they got to go all the way to the 30. There's that shovel pass again. Jake Sharp trying to hide behind that blocker. Austin English found him, though. And you hear some scattering of boos because that clock is down to 7, down to 6. And they're going to waste an opportunity here.
Yeah, and now you call, wow, this is confusing. I understand the boos completely. You have a guy like Desmond Briscoe who you just missed running free down the middle of the field. You try another shovel pass on 3rd and long. Now you're outside of field goal range and call the timeout.
Let's go to Matt Weiner in New York City.
Jayhawk fans, join head coach Mark Mangino at Buffalo Wild Wings in Lawrence, home of Hawk Talk with Mark Mangino, as the show is
no, it doesn't. You know,
on the Jayhawk Radio Network every Thursday night at 6.
So we are back. Penn State 19-7 over Michigan. Situation here, 2 seconds left, and they're going to try, it would appear, they're going to try a field goal that will be a distance of 57 yards, I think.
And I guess with the wind at their back, they thought that this was, I mean, this is well outside of his range of about 48, 50 yards. With that strong wind you've been talking about, maybe they feel like he can get it there.
We'll soon find out here. Meyer the holder. And you know what he's got? No, he has the distance. He got it.
Well, it didn't look pretty, but with that wind, a new career record for Brandstetter. And he made it by about 6-8 inches.
What a great job. We are at halftime at our new score, 14 Oklahoma, 6 KU. That's the end of the first half. You're watching college football presented by K Jewelers, where our score is 14-6. The Oklahoma Sooners in town and on top, leading this one by 8. Interesting situation. The defense for KU, it really has kept them in the ballgame because they have been totally outplayed, and 3 interceptions by Reese. Really surprising.
Yeah, career high, and it's only the first half. He struggled last week in the first half. But around here, people were thinking that Mark Mangino and his defensive staff were crazy. They got 6 new guys that played last week against Colorado. We've seen a couple of them. Lubbock Smith at safety. Looks like he's playing at a high level.
Yes.
DJ Bashir is a freshman cornerback. So they just needed to get John Williams, who's an offensive lineman, comes over to defense. These guys are playing pretty well. And I think it's all because of defense that it's 14-6 right now.
Let's take a look at some highlights of the first half. One, Jayhawk fans don't really want to see.
Well, and it was zone coverage. Reesing locks in. Dominique Franks reads it, goes 85 yards for the touchdown. And you started to feel like maybe Oklahoma had some momentum and they'd go to blow it out. But as it seemed like the clock was going to be run out, you get the interception, they get the ball back, and then Kansas looks like they don't know what they're doing with timeouts and everything. And then Brandstatter comes in, kicks a 57-yarder, ties 4th all-time at KU, and that strong win behind him. Mark Mangino figured a guy who told us his range was what, about 48, 49 yards, comes out and makes a 57 that would have been good, Ron, from about 57 1/4, I think.
Exactly. You know, that's the 6th longest field goal in Big 12 history. By the way, the other defensive stats for OU fans, Quentin Carter with an interception, Jeremy Beal with an interception, and then Dominique Franks with that 85-yard job that gave the Sooners the situation which puts them on top. This is Franks to open the second half, and a flag comes from way downfield. And right now, let's take a look at our Pacific Life game summary halftime stats.
Well, Oklahoma had their worst rushing output in history last week against Texas. Not much better here today with 28 yards. And turnovers 1 against 3. I would assume that Kevin Wilson, the offensive coordinator, with DeMarco Murray in street clothes because of that ankle, I think we might start to see Chris Brown, who's a good between the tackles runner. I think they may try to triple or quadruple that rushing yards here. They don't really want to see too many more turnovers.
Holding was the call on the kick return, so they'll scrimmage from their 25-yard line.
Well, that tells a lot when your leading rushers are your quarterbacks. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Kevin Wilson will pound Brown a little bit.
That's the first penalty against Oklahoma this afternoon as they throw the Broyles on first down, and that's not a surprising thing. Springer made the tackle, and Lubbock Smith was out there to finish it off, and he almost made him take a backflip going onto the sideline. Lubbock Smith is an impressive player, redshirt freshman out of Dallas Carter. A real hitter. We saw that last week in the Colorado game, and he has picked up today where he left off last week. Let's see what they say forward progress. That's really close to the first down as Tennell is on the receiving end.
Well, now with all these young players for Kansas, you've got to be careful because Oklahoma goes fast. Don't get fooled with Brown back there.
He stays under center, and I'll tell you, they figured it out. And 5 yards going to be stepped off against OU, so they'll have
the snap, a false start by number 70 of the offense. The 5-yard penalty, and it's still 3rd down.
Well, the only thing that Oklahoma has had offensively is Ryan Broyles today, and they keep going backwards You know, you had a 3rd and short. They run up there, and everybody's off, and the backup tackle.
Well, they haven't had a penalty today until the kick. They got one, and now on this 3rd down play, they push themselves back to about 5.5 yards to pick up the 1st down. So 2 to open the second half. Jones looking, got a man wide open, and that's going to be plenty for the 1st down as Brandon Caleb. A little bit of a rub play.
Oh, you think? Yeah, DeJuan Miller, who's a big body at 6'4", 224 pounds, ran a quote-unquote slant and cleared out about 2 defenders.
He's going to go on top. Far sideline, got single coverage, and 2 flags coming on this one.
Yeah, that's Bashir's, a true freshman. He got spun around, but this is a pretty heads-up play for a true freshman. You mentioned didn't play much defensive back in high school, but he was beat and grabbed the receiver.
Pass interference by number 20 of the defense. The 15-yard penalty and an automatic 1st down.
And because it's a 15-yard penalty in college instead of a spot foul, that's a heads-up play because he just got totally spun around there by Tennell.
Tennell also, as you can see, infinitely taller than is DJ Bashir. They list him at 5'9", and Tennell is 6'4". Keeper by the quarterback, and Onyebule makes the tackle, and I'll tell you, he grabbed him head high and said, "You're not going anywhere." That worked in the 1st half, but this time KU was not fooled.
Excellent job reading the quarterback on that zone read. Landry Jones has to see that 6'5", 260-pounder standing there coming up the field, not chasing the running back, and he needs to hand that off.
Maxwell Onyebule, senior out of Arlington, Texas. Catch, and now a late flag comes in.
Pass is incomplete.
He was juggling the ball. It is incomplete. That's what I was waiting to see on the sideline.
Pass intended for number 29.
The 15-yard penalty and a 1st down.
Now that's the 2nd big penalty against the senior Jeff Wheeler. Remember, he had the offsides on the fumble forced by Darryl Stuckey earlier in the game. That not a catch, but Wheeler, the ball's out of his hands. That's the proper call by the referee, and just the 2nd time that Wheeler's hurt his mates.
So the penalty moves it to the 33-yard line. Jones, well overthrown. Tennell is the intended receiver. Adrian, a senior out of Irving, Texas, 6'4", 199.
And even though they don't have Jermaine Gresham and all of those guys, you see where Sam Bradford has missed. Andrew Jones is going to have a good career, just not quite in that accuracy level Bradford has.
Broyles, pretty good stick over there as the tackle made by DJ Brashears. And those guys are closer to the same size rather than Tennell being out there at over 6'4".
There's a look at Jermaine Gresham, who hasn't played a snap this year. Knee surgery.
3rd down. Breaks the tackle. Tennell, that's the 1st down and more as he goes inside the 15, and they'll spot him out at the 11.
Well, and right now it feels like Kevin Wilson wants to see how Bashirs is playing as a true freshman, putting a lot of stress on the left side of the KU defense.
Good for 18 yards, and they've already snapped it again. And here's Brown. He takes it at left guard. Onyebule making the tackle. Maxwell with 3 stops here in the 2nd half. But they are speeding it up, and they're also making some of the younger players, as Ed said, let's see what you can do. We'll try to put you on an island. See if they do it again. Because number 20 is Bashirs, and he will be the man at the top of your screen out there working against number 80, Adrian Tennell. And that's where they're going again. It's a look-in pass, and he's got it complete for the Oklahoma touchdown. That is a great job of just picking on a youngster, saying, you know, if you can stop it, do. If you can't, we're going to keep going to the well.
And I think it went back to that play where Bashirs got beat and had to basically tackle Adrian Tennell. I think Kevin Wilson, who's sitting up here next to us, he said, I've got a young man who may be in his head a little bit. That's just way too much cushion. He's got, you can't, as a cornerback, you've got to know, you're always afraid of that fade, but you cannot give them the easier throw on the slant, or that looked like a skinny post there.
Wave the extra point. New score, 21-6, Oklahoma. And we are back, 21-6 our score.
And that's Sam Bradford hanging over there. Of course, everyone wondering what's going to happen. Joe Shad of ESPN reporting that it's likely he will have surgery that will, of course, end his season. Everyone wants to know what's he going to do next year. He's asked to be left alone. He'll let us all know when he makes his decision. A lot of stuff has to go into what he wants to do going into next year.
Well, this week on Saturday Night Football, ABC delivers two must-win games. Most of the nation will be seeing the Texas Longhorns, number 3, in a critical conference showdown. They hit the road to face the Missouri Tigers. And the rest of the nation will see Oregon State take on number 7, the Trojans of Southern California. Saturday Night Football, presented by Southwest Airlines. Tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific.
And the big question for Missouri is how much healthier Blaine Gabbert's right ankle is. We saw him against Oklahoma State, really struggled. If he starts struggling like that, I think maybe you'll see Jimmy Costello.
Wouldn't surprise me, because he really had no mobility last week. Quick out pass, blocker in front to McDougald, and the freshman is going to take it close to the first down. Matt Weiner, what do you got for us? Okay, Matt, our situation, we have a 21-6 ball game, and with these hurry-up offenses, kind of hard to squeeze in anything in between plays. Nice job by McCoy and English, as that running play was stopped for a loss, and now it's third down KU, and they need about 2 yards for the first, and that means, of course, O'Purum, the larger of the two backs, comes in.
Yeah, you got your 3 receivers down here at the bottom, maybe a wide receiver screen to McDougald in the middle.
Racing pitches the ball back to O'Purum. Tries to turn the corner, and I mean really close. In fact, I think from where the spot is going to go down, he'll have it. Austin English defensively.
Yep, and they got it. And one of the fine coaches in all of college football, Brent Venables, who has a big background in this state, played high school football here, was the 5A Defensive Player of the Year, went on to play at Kansas State. And then, of course, was with Bob Stoops at Kansas State under Bill Snyder. Been with the Stoops family for a very long time.
Play action, blitz, and they picked it up nicely. And again, the ball is tipped at the line of scrimmage. And was it Beal? I think it was. They got a hand on it. Well, I tell you what, it really helps your secondary. It goes without saying. When you get about 4 or 5 tipped balls, one of those went for an interception back in the first half.
Yep.
But when you got those big long arms up there.
Well, and we saw Adrian Taylor hobble off the field in the first half. We saw Jeremy Beal, who's now up walking around again as the 4th rusher, and you're not sure where he's going to come from. He got that interception because he dropped out when Adrian Taylor blocked it. So both these guys obviously healthy.
Racing. Gets it away, and good job by Briscoe to make sure, A, it was not intercepted by Jackson, and B, he almost came up with the football.
And the one thing that Oklahoma did and worked so hard on last week, because the year before, Brent Venables and his staff said Colt McCoy killed us when he got outside the pocket. So last week, they worked so hard to keep McCoy in the pocket, and they just translated that right into here. A 5-man rush with a blitz. But look at the job of McCoy, who's now out at defensive end, staying in his lane, not doing too much, but making Reeson stay in that pocket and throw over people instead of getting outside.
Travis Lewis may have been fortunate there. A shot a little bit close to the head. Got it, Briscoe. 38-yard line. Brian Jackson on the tackle, and those two have gotten to know each other pretty well today.
Well, and Brian Jackson, talk about difference a year makes. Brian Jackson last year guarded Desmond Briscoe on a record-setting day, 269 receiving yards. And Jackson was very honest about it this week. He said, I did not play up to my ability. And Brent Venables said he was a first-year start. He didn't understand what down in and down out meant, but he has this year and playing at a super high level.
Franks is the deep man. He has the 85-yard interception return. And Rojas with the punt. And a wobbly kick into the wind. Not working real well. That thing is just dying when it goes into the wind and takes a bounce back the wrong direction for KU. 21-6. OU on top. Let's take a timeout.
ESPN's college football on ABC. Brought to you by Chevy and our award-winning cars, trucks, and crossovers. City never sleeps. And Dr. Pepper. Drink it slow. Doctor's orders.
Well, what you're looking at, a facelift at Allen Fieldhouse. You can see the guys working out yesterday. Many people have KU as #1 in the nation in the preseason poll. They just won the national championship year before last, and Bill Self took me in his new office yesterday, and I told him probably in the offseason that thing's so big that he ought to lease it out as a condo, but he didn't like that idea.
Does he have a cot in there like some coaches have?
He's got room for several and a balcony to watch a practice field as the pass is thrown complete to Brandon Caleb. Anyway, it's a really great looking facility, and the kids are very excited about it. The coaches are very excited about it, for that matter. This is going to be a good conference year in the Big 12 again. Very good basketball teams. Jones, short delivery, and this one to DeJuan Miller. And Miller finally shoved that out of bounds just across midfield. Halden Tharp, and I'll tell you, we have called his name a lot tonight, and he reminds me a lot of the young man from Missouri who we were so impressed with. Is coming back from the knee surgery tonight.
Yep.
And all of a sudden I'm drawing a blank.
Will Ebner.
Ebner, yep. Yeah, Ebner. Yeah, because he's everywhere and he loves to hit. Same kind of player. Nice catch by Broyles, and he held on to the football. Now OU was cross midfield only twice. This is what, the third time. Only twice in 7 drives in the first half, but they scored on both of them.
Well, and that's a bit of a flip of the script, because last week they got the ball 6 times on the plus 50, beyond the 50 with turnovers and everything like that, and they ended up with 1 field goal, 3 points against Texas.
Flag goes down, and you know, I tell you what, it's Coach Wilson is saying, you know,
he's found it.
If you guys, if you're not going to change what you're doing, maybe change personnel.
Pass interference by number 20 of the defense. The 15-yard penalty.
We're just going to keep going back there.
And Adrian Tennell, a guy that had a very serious knee injury, and he's got great ability. They've kind of been waiting for him to come on, just a straight go route. And that's just bad technique, because Bashirs is in great position. All he has to do is turn and start running with no reason to make that contact. There was not out of position at all.
Damon Patterson has gone in replacing DJ Bashirs. So the freshman comes out. Sophomore goes in. A little misdirection. Here's Brown inside the 15. He's down close to the 10. Patterson, as they took it right back to that side of the field.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Kevin Wilson, even though it was a stretch freight to the left, that was a design cutback. And so expecting the freshman to be over there, but Damon Patterson, who was one of the guys who changed from offense to defense last year, over there.
Brown, by the way, Jones has hit his last 6 passes. Hit a little dry streak back in the first half in the second quarter, but he has reunited with those that he does best to play and pitch and catch with.
Now the big guys come in. Matt Klatt, all Big 12 fullback last year, straight I formation, run it straight ahead with Brown.
Quigley checks into the ball game. He was a running back last year. He's another one of those players from offense that has moved over to the defensive side of the ball. Angus wears number 22. Running play, 3rd down, and yep, he got it.
Well, this is the type of run that was Halden Tharp, who came clean And this is the type of run Chris Brown gives you. He's obviously not as explosive as DeMarco Murray, who's, if you're just joining us on the sidelines with an ankle sprain that he suffered last week. There's Kevin Wilson, who the term is he's feeling it right now as a play caller. Everything he's calling is working, and when Brown makes a guy miss who's open in the backfield, you can kind of call anything you want.
Well, let's see if they go back to Tennell. He's working his time against Patterson. Damon Patterson, sophomore out of Mesquite, Texas. It's free play. Swing it out in the flat, went back to the very same area, and it's a touchdown, Oklahoma. Kansas jumped offside, and I think everything is going to be in line for the OU 6 points.
Offside
Chris Brown.
by number 90 of the defense. Penalties declined. Touchdown.
So Oklahoma puts point number 27 on the board with the extra point attempt to come. Boy, they got really right-handed on that last two, huh?
There's an old adage. All good play callers will tell you, when you find that thing,
you just keep going.
Wear it out.
That's right.
Wear it out. And give Kansas credit. They at least tried to make a change and bring Patterson in to relieve the freshman Bashirs, but they were already in such a rhythm, I don't think it mattered.
28-6 OU. Let's look from behind, and here's Brown makes the catch, and he'll just walk it into the end zone.
Any new ideas?
I think we ought to put the dog back in Ditka's doghouse.
What are you thinking?
Welcome back to college football, presented by K Jewelers, where our score is Oklahoma 28-6 over Kansas.
He does not know the score, does not care.
No, he doesn't. No. He said, but I'm going to eat this hat.
Doesn't know why mom and dad are so upset right now with the score. Just enjoying himself.
McDougal and Stuckey are the two deep guys. And this one is returnable, 1 yard deep. McDougal gets whacked down as he reaches the 21. This Thursday at 8, 7 o'clock Central. Thursday night event is ABC's Flash Forward. The entire world saw the future, and now their visions are starting to come true. ABC's Flash Forward, all new on Thursday, 8 o'clock, 7 Central on ABC.
Todd Reesing comes back out to face what I think is starting to become the best defense in the country after what they did to Texas, who was the #1 scoring team in the country coming into last week, and now this effort today, if they can hold it up. It's hard to argue that this isn't the best group in the country.
Reesing, the ball knocked away. Good move at the last moment to get it was Quentin Carter, who already has an interception in the ball game. Made the first pickoff of the afternoon on the very first play by KU of the afternoon.
Interesting, coming into the season for Oklahoma, the only question really on defense was the secondary. You had a bunch of guys starting for the first time. Sam Proctor, Quentin Carter, who played a good bit last year, and they didn't know how good Brian Jackson would be, but this secondary has really played at a high level all season.
Get inside, Jimmy! On the side!
Over the middle, Briscoe. And now here comes a flag. That's going to be a late hit on the quarterback, and that's against Alexander.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 84 on the defense. A 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down.
Well, you don't want to go to the sidelines right now if you're Frank Alexander, because even though it looked like Briscoe picked up the first down, you just cannot do things like that. Not only late, but also at the head of the quarterback, and Brent Venables and Bob Stoops, they're not afraid to get on somebody when they make a mistake.
Cale Pick is into the ballgame at quarterback. The redshirt freshman out of Dodge City, number 7. 6'2", 200 pounds. O'Perlin is in the backfield with it. And it's going to be a quarterback draw. And Cale is welcomed to the game by being tackled for about a 2-yard loss. That's Gerald McCoy, who got a hand on him.
Well, now, I did not see Reesing come off like he was hurt. Pick a better runner than Reesing.
Well, Reesing's in the ballgame. He's out of wide receiver.
I hear you. I was looking on the sidelines. I didn't see him come off, so it's him right up there at the top.
Quarterback draw again. And the same results. He lost 2 more yards.
Well, I don't blame Mark Mangino and Ed Warner, the offensive staff. You got to try something. And you bring in Cale Pick, who's a really good runner. He comes off now, but it's not like things have been moving really smoothly with Todd Reesing. So you might as well try something a little bit different out there. And I know the crowd just gave him a little boo, but you know, you're kind of drawing at straws right now to see which one's going to be the longest.
It's Meyer in motion. And they got the first down. Meyer, who had gone top of your screen and came back over the middle. Dominic Franks is there to make the tackle. Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. They, because of the losses, well short of the first down.
And this crowd letting Mark Mangino hear what they feel about that change. Again, I kind of feel their pain a little bit. You know, everything you've tried, it's not been easy. They wanted to try something different.
Well, Frank signals for a fair catch and makes it at the 20. So, did you know? Bob Stoops, Mark Mangino, Brent Venables served as assistant coaches under Bill Snyder at K-State from 1991 to 1995. And you know, Mike Stoops, who was not with this group, but as the head coach at Arizona, was on that staff as well.
And that no real mystery why Bill Snyder was able to turn Kansas State around when you had a group of coaches like that. He hired some real fine ones in his first stint there.
Jonathan Miller comes into the ball game, number 26, at tailback for the Sooners. Another new face, fresh legs, and he gets the ball and will go for short yardage. Justin Springer puts a stop on him. 3.5 minutes left, third quarter. Oklahoma having their way, 28-6. And we're looking to keep an eye on Broyles because he's within one of tying a record, is he not? 11 receptions.
Yep. 12 was set last year by Joaquin Iglesias against KU.
But Oklahoma is continuing to be conservative as they keep going to the right. But they're just wearing that side out.
Well, and for Oklahoma fans, nice to see for the stretch run Adrian Tennell stepping up. You need some kind of complement. Broyles can't be the entire offense. You're going to need something else to come to the top.
Broyles is a small guy, 175. As that catch should have been made by Caleb. Caleb is one with he's got pressure on him. Even if it is catchable, doesn't always bring it in. Chris Harris was there.
And you know, it looks to me like Caleb and Landry Jones are just not on the same page. Every time Jones goes to that side, the ball is off. Now, sometimes you don't know, is it the quarterback, is it a bad route, combination of the two? But there have been a couple where you suspect Caleb is going to catch some heat and films that you got your hands on it, you need to make that catch.
Tressway hangs on to this snap. Punt won't turn over, but he sends it to the 15-yard line, and Patterson will bring it back to the 35. Eldridge with the hit there, and the crowd kind of wanted a flag. Won't be one. 45 yards on the punt and 6 on the return.
And now for, you know, KU, as bad as this game has gone, with 2:47 left here in the third quarter, if you can get down there, punch one in, your defense is not as poorly as you played on offense. Your defense has hung in there a little bit and given you a couple of chances. But you kind of get the feeling it's got to be on this drive, don't you, a little bit?
Yeah. Yep. You know, every time that OU has done well today, first quarter, this quarter, they've had the win at their back.
Yeah. Well, it didn't seem when I was down on the field earlier. It picked up when these clouds came in. Remember, it was really sunny. When these clouds came in, it picked up. And, of course, we saw Jacob Brandsetter, the kicker from KU, be the beneficiary of that with a 57-yarder with the wind at his back at the end of the half.
Second down. That pass thrown well behind Jonathan Wilson. And I know that Reesing had to hurry, but I have to think that either Wilson made the cut too quickly, cut off the route too quickly, or something. That was way behind him.
Brent Venables goes with the double arm bands with all his plays on there. You know, a lot of guys go with the card. He goes with the arm band, which mimics what a lot of the guys on his defensive in the defensive lineup wear.
Meyer, what a catch, but he was well out of bounds, as you could see. But he got that thing with one hand, didn't he?
Yeah, but Reesing he's just off. He's deep in his head, not feeling in any kind of rhythm whatsoever. I know that the fans were not happy that Cale Pitt came in on the last one, but the last drive, a quarterback and ran the ball a couple of times. But Reesing, the senior, just having a tough outing.
Well, this is a rugby-style kick. And Franks makes the fair catch. 44 yards in the kick, and here are the BCS standings.
Well, you've got to, if you're Texas, you're not happy about how you played last week. Hopefully play a little better if you're a Longhorn fan tonight, but you're sitting in the catbird seat because those two teams above them cannot go undefeated. If they both win out the regular season, they play for the championship, and you've got to suspect Cincinnati's sitting there at number 5, Iowa and USC. Pretty good schedules down the road. You figure Boise State may come down, and TCU with a big one tonight against BYU may start creeping up as well.
Jones delivers a strike, and that's right on time to Adrian Tennell.
And that will be interesting to see because non-automatic qualifying conferences, they only get one automatic bid for being number 12 or above. So if TCU and Boise State finish in the top 12, the higher one automatic, and I don't think the other one would go at an at-large. So pretty big deal tonight in Provo for TCU.
Well, not enough for the first down. Halden Tharp is there to make a stop on Chris Brown. I tell you what, Gary Patterson's done a great job at TCU and has been doing a really good job for a long time.
Well, he's a guy, you know, we talked about all the guys they put out here at KU on defense. He takes offensive players a lot, running backs from high school, puts them at defensive end, and they become All-Americans. He's got a nice formula there.
Brown with the running play. He didn't get it. They tripped him out. Joe Laptad. And Coach Stoops is not going to take a chance, and I don't blame you. The wind behind me, and you can kick this thing and literally flip the field on Kansas with a good kick.
Well, that was just a one-on-one win by Caleb Blakesley, working there against Ben Haber, and the centers pushed him right back.
5 punts on the afternoon for the Sooners. Well, the spiral's not going to turn over. And I'll tell you what, every time those things don't, when they don't on this surface, it bounces back the opposite way. So actually, KU gets pretty good field position. 39 yards in the kick is all he's going to get.
Let's see if the Jayhawks can get something going. You know, they haven't tried a long one to Desmond Briscoe since he dropped that touchdown pass at the end of the half. So maybe try to run something to pull that safety down and see if you can't get
Kansas at the 38.
Briscoe, who's a good runner, deep, and see if he can't get a quick strike here.
Got him. Jonathan Wilson, the junior out of Houston Klein Forest, and Jonathan Nelson had to make the play.
And you know, we expected to see Todd Reesing on sprint outs and rollouts a little more. I think that's the first one I remember seeing here in the second half, and he makes a really nice throw to Wilson.
That's 31 yards in the play. As we told you, Wilson had a good game last week and showed a lot of confidence helping his ball club. Puts this one up in the air. Other side, Meyer. That is quite a battle for
Pass
the
is
football.
incomplete, intended for number 10.
Quentin Carter said, "It's mine. I want my second interception of the afternoon." And Meyer said, "No, it's mine."
Well, Quentin Carter did an excellent job at the very last second. Not sure what Bob Stoops is all excited about. Maybe that he thought they had an interception, but that ball hits the ground. But Carter, excellent job. He turned around just at the right time to see that ball and get his hand on it.
That's the end of the third quarters. Take a timeout. Back for the final 15.
You're watching ESPN on ABC. Let's go,
And our thanks to the Oklahoma cheerleaders. We saw KU earlier back in the first half.
And here was why Bob Stoops was so upset. This is on that 31-yard catch. Jeff Spikes grabs the foot of Jeremy Beal, and that's why he went over there. But you know what, Ron? You know, as a former offensive lineman, you know why that wasn't a penalty?
Why?
Because they didn't throw a flag.
You guys would resort to anything.
You kidding me? You get beat? You grab a foot, you grab a shirt. Don't get your quarterback killed. Dan Fouts told me one time, he said, I can make up for a 10-yard penalty. I can't make up for a broken collarbone.
Racing just throws this one out of bounds and throws it directly to the young man who is handling the new footballs and bringing them on the field. Well, after 3 quarters, this is what the stats look like.
Both offenses taking turns, making mistakes, penalties, drop passes. But Oklahoma has been taking advantage of those turnovers.
In basketball, you get a shot chart. You know, at different times during the ball game. I'll tell you, the shot chart in this one would be way overweighted to the right, would it not?
Yeah.
I mean, they have thrown the football to the right and to the right and to the right. I'm not sure they threw it anywhere else in the third quarter. Racing going to go down again, this time at the 40. And it's Austin English, third sack of the afternoon.
Well, and this is a defensive line stunt. The defensive end is going to come down underneath. The nose guard is going to come around. And a lot of times, great move by English. He went out and then came back up. And what happened was the right guard, left guard, got on a different level than the left tackle, Tanner Hawkinson. And when that happens, you can't make the trade-off. And that was just a great move by English.
Not trying to pooch kick this one, lets it go, and I'll tell you what, that was as good a fake as we've had on offense today. Let's take a timeout. And we are back, 28-6, Oklahoma leading, and in this modern generation of electronics and what have you, Big E. Elvin Lindblad, my stat guy, this is what he still uses. It's an Etch-a-Sketch. And it says, OU second half, TDs in the first 2 drives, 3 and out on the last 2 drives.
Well, and Kansas, you can't say enough about what this new defense has done today. Look, I know they've given up 20 points. 7 of those were on a interception return. Their offense has had 3 turnovers. This KU defense has played well enough for this team to win. The problem is Oklahoma's defense is playing at a super high level. I think, really, if I look across the Bob Stoops era at Oklahoma, he's had some very good defenses. I'm not sure that this defense isn't playing maybe the best of any group that they have had there.
Well, it's hard to argue with that. Landry Jones gets the call, and you can see him going down the line of scrimmage, making sure everybody on that offensive line knew exactly where they were going to be. Flag goes down as the play goes for very short yardage, and I think we're going to wind up with a second down and
holding. Number 61 of the offense. The penalty is 10 yards and replay second down.
Well, Blakesley did something really interesting there when the center Hayburn had his head down. He moved over to this side, and he just jumped over, and right when Hayward lifted his head, he just wasn't quite ready. You know, that's one of the problems with that silent count as a center. Your head's down, you come up, all of a sudden the guys move, and then Blakesley did a great job coming across his face, and he had to tackle him.
See Brody Eldridge talking to him on that play. Pass, that's a tough one, thrown against the grain, looking for Ryan Broyles.
Well, Blakesley got into the head of Hayburn because that was a high snap. And Hayward's limping. He was a young man who was hurt against BYU. That's why Brody Eldridge, who's now playing left guard, had to play the center in that game. But he looks a little gimpy.
Well, Tavares Jeffries did not make the trip. Stephen Good got the start at right guard today. Middle screen, and look out, he's loose. Broyles in space, and this is trouble for anybody. Finally hit and knocked out of bounds, and that is Chris Harris, who finally got to him.
Well, and Broyles has just been deadly today. 11 catches, 121 yards, one catch short of the OU record set last year against KU by Joaquin Iglesias.
This is 45 yards in this play right here, and this is what we were talking about, what he does after he breaks a tackle, when he gets in space. This is Brown, and Brown gets by the first tackler. Arist Wright did trip him up. Brody Eldridge was out there blocking from that right guard position. Left guard, I beg your pardon.
265 pounds, so obviously a little undersized to go to that next level. But boy, he is their best blocker. They've said that. The Oklahoma staff has said that about Eldridge for the last 3 years. Of course, he was an all Big 12 fullback with 0 touches back in 2007. A tight end last year, 2008. Now, tight end center, left guard. He can do anything.
This is Brown. And Brown looking as though he's running with fresh legs there. Justin Springer on the stop. Onyebule had a shot at him and then missed the tackle.
And another offensive lineman down, that's left tackle Trent Williams, the senior. They're starting to really struggle. 6 games through the Texas game. Through 7 games, 7 different offensive linemen, including offensive line sets, have started because they've been trying to get the right group. And now you've got guys banged up, and your left tackle, you're already missing your left guard, Brian Simmons, getting thin.
At the 10, at the 5, dives for the end zone, and he got in. Touchdown, Oklahoma. Brody Eldridge with a really good block on the play.
Chris Brown. That's what I'm talking about, Steve.
Well, Brody Eldridge gets a good block, but that's because he gets an assist from Brown. Brown hits him right in the back, trying to get out of his way, and that's what launched Eldridge into the finishing block. And just great vision. Brown is just such a good runner in space. He doesn't make big drastic moves, just those little tiny steps.
Tressway with the extra point attempt, trying to make it 35-6, and he's got it. Shows one more look at that play as we go to break with the 11-10 left in our ball game. There was the push on Mr. Eldridge, and then into the end zone. We'll be right back.
BC, brought to you by K Jewelers, the #1 jewelry store in America. Nissan Maxima, proud partner of the Heisman Trophy. And Verizon Wireless, America's largest 3G network.
And welcome back to Memorial Stadium in Lawrence, Kansas. That first shot that you were looking at, a good view of downtown Lawrence, and of course the leaves are turning. It won't be long before it really starts to get pretty chilly up this way. By the way, it was Brown on that drive, 4 carries, 45 yards, and a touchdown.
It's unbelievable when you think how much is missing from this Oklahoma offense. We just saw Jermaine Gresham on the phone there. DeMarco Murray didn't go today. Unreal. Sam Bradford, of course, who all he did last year was win the Heisman.
You know what? The last time that KU did not score a touchdown was against Oklahoma in 2005. Matt Weiner, let's check with you in New York. Okay, Matt, 35-6. The Sooners with a commanding lead in this one by 29 points. And Reesing. And Meyer cannot take that one down. Let's remind you one more time as the chase hits the halfway point. Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon looking to close the gap, and they're at the shortest track on the circuit this week. The chase is in Martinsville. Coverage begins tomorrow on ABC at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, presented by Goodyear. The chase.
And you have to figure this is most likely the last set of downs for Todd Reesing. Then I would think that Cale Pick would come in permanently, even though they tried a quick little switch there a couple of series ago.
Reesing has that one complete, and then here comes a flag in. Briscoe with the catch. Dominic Franks making the tackle.
Pass interference by number 86 of the offense. It's a 15-yard penalty and replay second down.
Yeah.
That's on Beery, the tight end.
Yeah, and last week against Colorado, there was a pick called on Jonathan Wilson on what would have been the go-ahead touchdown to Kerry Meyer. And a lot of people think that that was the staff of Colorado working the officials, saying, look, they're running picks. And I would imagine that Bob Stoops before the game and throughout the game has gone to the officials and said, look, they run some picks, make sure you watch them. And that's a good job of making them aware of some stuff that they may see.
Shovel pass, nothing. Adrian Taylor is just all over Jake Sharp.
Oh, this Oklahoma defense has just been dominant. Adrian Taylor, Jeremy Beal, McCoy, English. These guys go almost the entire game. You know, I think at this point we're going to start seeing some fresh bodies come in. But the only real backup that comes in and plays is Frank Alexander, the defensive end. Adrian Taylor and Gerald McCoy go the distance. Played 80 snaps last week against Texas.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, a real show of respect since it's the last time around for Colt McCoy against them. The fact that McCoy and English stayed out in the field after the ball game to make sure that they got to shake hands with and give a hug to McCoy and to wish him well. I thought there was a real show of sportsmanship there.
Go out and compete. I think, you know, a lot of times those rivalries are way more heated amongst the fans than they are the players, because guys are out there working too hard. And of course, everybody from Texas was upset. When you beat a team, you want to beat them with their best players. But seeing Bradford go down, I'm sure Colt McCoy, who's very good friends with Sam, was upset. You, as a competitor, you want to play against the best.
Well, those were the first two guys that got together after the game was over. And, you know, they went searching for each other. It's going to be taken by Broyles. And Broyles will take it to the 45-yard line. Let's take a timeout. 8:55 left in our ball game. 35-6 Sooners. Back in Lawrence, and a note on the Oklahoma defense. The last 2 weeks now against Texas, 444 is what they were averaging into the ball game, and almost 48 points a game. And you see what they held them to today. The Jayhawks at 503 and 38 points a game, held to 228 and 6 points.
Well, I think they listened to Coach Venables to keep investing, which he was a little worried about.
By the way, great day for Jones. Career high 25 completions this afternoon. Calhoun in the ball game at tailback, and they give it to him. The ball is loose. KU football. Second turnover for the Sooners.
Now you put your backup offensive lineman in, your backup running back. You left Jones in there probably just for ball handling issues. And, you're not going to play a ton if you're going to fumble the ball. And
well, he's one of the youngsters. He and Miller, you know, it's the last thing in the world you want to do is to get your chance, and you drop it very close to the 50-yard line, right in front of your head coach.
Yeah, and all he did was run into an offensive lineman there. It's not like he got hit. So, and that's the fastest way to not get much more playing time, unfortunately.
Pick. Intercepted. No, and the ball went through his hands. Franks thought he had another one, and you know something, Ed, from where he was, he might have because of the angle that he had on the return.
Well, and all the blue shirts had run over to the left because of the sprint out by Reese, and you might be right.
I'm telling you, look at this. I mean, he has taken off for the end zone. He knows he's already got one for 85, and I mean, it went right through his hands.
Yep. Might be a reason he plays cornerback instead of wide receiver. But again, Franks has just been eating up Reese today, looking into the backfield and reading his eyes. He's had a great ball game with squatting.
This pass complete to Briscoe. Quentin Carter on the tackle. And how about this? This is a new section that they have included this year that's got the reclining chairs. And I think the gentleman, the second from the right, had a monitor there. I think there's a monitor like every two chairs that you can watch on rather than just having to watch the field.
All you can eat, all you can drink. There's a little cover over the top in case there's some inclement weather. It's a pretty good deal.
Well, this is Opurum. And he's going to take it for about 8 yards. This is a look at the Big 12 today, and a couple of more shockers on here. Colorado really playing a lot better football, but K-State, they're now 3-1 in the North, 20-6. Oklahoma State wins huge over Baylor. Iowa State, first time since 1977 they have won at Nebraska. Tonight, A&M at Tech, Texas at Missouri.
And amazingly, Kansas State, who everyone kind of wrote off, they struggled to beat Massachusetts, lost to Louisiana Lafayette. 3-1, and the way the North does not look very good right now. And so these teams are going to limp home, and I think you have to think Kansas State's in it. They go to Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, at Nebraska, and there is
that's a looking from where we're looking a minute. Even have scores for them here. They change them out and what?
Hey! What is Eric doing? He's got the best seat in the house,
sitting under the cover. Third down. And we just went under 7 minutes. Racing hands it off, and it looks as though Opurum is going to have the first down as Jamarcus McFarland will make the tackle.
A little surprised we don't see Cale Pick in there at quarterback. I know they're just running the ball and probably just going to try to shorten this game a little bit and get out of here, but he's a young man, a freshman that we saw come in. Good runner, good thrower. Ed Warner said he's got a really bright future. It feels like the time where you'd want to get a young man some snaps at quarterback. Mostly second teamers on defense up front for Oklahoma.
Meyer made the catch. Very smartly got what he could and got out of bounds after picking up the first down.
Now you feel a little bit for guys like Kerry Meyer. 8 catches today. Guy who started at quarterback back in 2006. Todd Reesing came in at the end of the year as a true freshman and just wanted to do whatever he could, and they trained him as a wide receiver. He's turned into one of the best in the country, and I think giving himself a shot at the next level.
Well, talking about a selfless player, I mean, here's a guy, yeah, he was the #1 guy, had the long blonde locks and everything, and next thing you know, here comes this freshman from Texas in and takes over the job. And Kerry just said, you know, I want to help the team, so tell me where I can play. As that pass is thrown behind Briscoe. Crowd kind of wanted pass interference. But just to finish out the story, his head coach said an interesting thing this past week when I said, you know, what do you feel about Meyer after what he has done? He never gritched about anything. He simply said, I want to help the team, I want to play. And he said, you know, he is probably the most popular guy on this campus because people realize what his posturing was, what he did, and he just wanted to be a team fellow.
Yeah, and went a step further, said he's, in his opinion, Mark Mangino's opinion, the most important player during his tenure here because they've made a lot of guys switch positions for the betterment of the defense. And how can you as a young player not take that example?
Big head of steam, and the 240-pounder goes bolting down inside the 10. It's going to be a 1st and goal KU. Quentin Carter making the defensive play.
Adrian Taylor and McCoy still in there. They had rotated some guys in. I think maybe, you know, sometimes you bring that second unit line in, then you bring the first starters, the first stringers back out, and they've kind of mentally shut it down. That didn't look like the 86 and 93 that we saw in the first 3.5 quarters of the game.
Well, this is the 9th play of the drive. They keep it on the ground. Puts a head down and will be finally stopped at the 5-yard line by Jonathan Nelson.
Porham's a good-looking back, isn't he? At 200. I mean, he ducked in there and bounced it out. A young man, a highly recruited guy that had an undisclosed medical issue that they weren't sure if he was going to be able to play here once he got here, and had to go through a whole battery of tests. Has asked that it be kept private what that was, and they thought they may lose him, but he got cleared right before camp started.
From Plano, Texas, played at Plano East, ball club that seems as though annually sends a number into the colleges. Reese, touchdown, Kansas.
Number 5.
Well, as the song plays, and this is where they do the waving weed, and I have to say it's a short crop this year. It's almost everybody has gone home across the way in that student section.
Not sure I blame them. Been a tough game to watch.
Yep.
If you're a KU fan.
Extra point attempt up and is good. Bremstetter knocks it home. Bremstetter earlier today, in case you missed it, a record 57-yard field goal for him, a personal best. We'll be right back. It's the far sideline. College football today presented by K Jewelers. 35-13 with 4:27 left, and that young man is being faithful as he's sticking around. But I mean, a lot of people have gone home. And Oklahoma lines up with a good hands team as they're looking for the onside kick.
Bob Stoops did not look like what he saw, so calling a timeout here to reset his guys.
Let's take a look at our Pacific Life game summary.
Well, the guy that in talking to Kevin Wilson before the game, we were talking about Ryan Broyles, and last week they didn't really have much of a plan ready for him. Broyles, who had hurt his shoulder blade against Miami, had a slight break in it. Did not play against Baylor. They didn't know how much he'd play against Texas, and he went the whole game. So he said this week I dialed up some plays for this young man because he's such a difference maker in space. A local guy from right there in Norman, Oklahoma. And remember on that game last year we saw against Cincinnati. And we were just, who is this guy? Where did he come from? And we hadn't even really heard of him. And a lot of guys around the office there talk about the name Mark Clayton. And how it kind of reminds them of Mark Clayton and how good he is after he catches the ball.
Well, it looks as though the Good Hands team has gone to the sideline, and they're still going to onside kick it, trying to kick it in that in-between area. And Oklahoma very wisely just falls on it and makes the stop. That's Travis Lewis who made the recovery. Here is the turning point for today.
Well, Dominique Franks does an excellent job reading the quarterback. He did it again a moment ago and almost had a pick that could have gone the other way. But when Kansas had something going, this just took the wind out of the sails. And we were talking about Todd Reesing trying to come back from bad plays, and he's been able to do it so many times in his career. But 2 weeks in a row, struggled early in the game, and just a little too much for him to overcome, I think.
This is the kind of football team that you can't do any favors to, and secondly, you can't get off to a slow start. This is Brown. He will stay in bounds. About to go under 4 minutes left to play in this one. Here's your updated game plan for Oklahoma.
Well, they certainly did feed broils often, and for Chris Brown, 6 runs of over 4 yards. He finished the day 18-60. Well, not finished. He's still in there, 18 for 67 and 2 touchdowns. And Kansas defense just not able to get a whole lot. The ball got out quickly out of Landry Jones' hands. Not a whole lot of pressure on him because they were able to get Broyles and Brown going a little bit.
Brown, he really got tagged at the line of scrimmage. And that was Arist Wright, senior, out of A-Leaf Taylor, which is Houston.
And I'm sure there's some people saying, why is Chris Brown in there? Of course, we saw the fumble a moment ago from Calhoun, and DeMarco Murray not
exactly
here. And the only way at 35-13 that this thing gets hairy with Murray standing over their sidelines is with fumbles and turnovers. So I think that Bob Stoops went over to his running back coach, Cale Gundy, and said, yeah, let's go ahead and get Brown back in there. Let's finish this thing out.
So you're about to go into 3 minutes now. And they are running this play clock down far as they can every time. Jones, another completion, and that's Jazz Reynolds this time. Well, ABC Comedy Wednesday, Modern Family, is the #1 new comedy of the fall. America simply can't stop talking and laughing about ABC's Modern Family. Wednesday, 9 o'clock, 8 Central on ABC.
And as this starts to melt away, it was interesting talking to Bob Stoops about the motivation for this game. And he reminded his players that they've won 3 Big 12 championships in a row. And in those 3 years, they're 1-2 against Texas. So he really drilled in their heads, guys, we are not out of this thing by any stretch. Let's stay focused for the stretch run.
That was John Williams on the tackle. He's that offensive lineman who had been switched, came in as a defensive lineman, took him to offense. Here is the Longhorn remaining schedule: at Missouri tonight, then at Oklahoma State next week, and Kansas still has to face off for the Longhorns. That's on November the 21st.
And Texas has historically not played well in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And we saw them last week. Zach Robinson, who knows when they'll get Des Bryant back? Probably not for that game against Texas, but maybe they get Kendall Hunter back, the fine running back. And even without him, though, Tostin looked awfully good.
Tostin to me has just been an absolute godsend because he catches the ball well, he runs the ball well, he's good after first contact.
And Oklahoma needs some help. I mean, they lost to Texas, so they'll need Texas to lose twice. I don't think we're going to see a 3-way tie in that funky BCS tiebreaker like we saw last year. Of course, that rule was not changed during the offseason, oddly, in the Big 12 Conference. But they need Texas to lose twice and, of course, win out themselves. But Texas showed their struggles last week.
Brown hit behind the line of scrimmage, and Justin Springer. Mark Mangino looking at the closing moments of this one, and he said, yeah, Bob Stoops is a friend of mine, but for 3.5 hours, he won't be my friend, and that will all, be out of my mind. And I'll tell you something, Bob Stoops today, his ball club came in here and just showed superiority from the get-go. When on your first offensive play of the afternoon. You talk about a turning point. When the first pass off the hands of Todd Reesing was picked off and it led to an Oklahoma score, you had a feeling that if that was the initial sign of the day, it was not a good sign.
A tough road for Kansas this year. Oklahoma at Texas Tech at Texas. So they get 3 of the top 4 teams from the South on their schedule. The South, the tough part of the South will rotate off of Kansas' schedule next year, just in time for when you lose Kerry Meyer and Todd Reesing. So they won't play Texas and Oklahoma in the regular season again until 2012. And so Mark Mangino, unless he beats one of those teams in a Big 12 championship, will have to wait until at least then to get his first win against either Oklahoma or Texas.
Fair catch called for and made at the 12-yard line, and we got 3 seconds showing on the clock.
And now for Kansas, I think the real key here is they lost a tough one at Boulder last week. They come in here and just don't play well offensively. The defense played a little bit better than they had been with some of those changes, but you cannot lose focus. The Big 12 North is going to be, it's not going to be pretty down the stretch, but Kansas needs to stay focused, and they can still be in the hunt for the Big 12 championship game at least.
Racing, they're just going to keep it on the ground. That'll be the final play of the afternoon, and the Oklahoma Sooners with an impressive display today, particularly on the defensive side, and the 2 head coaches come out to wish each other well. Once again, our final score is Oklahoma 35 and Kansas 13. Now let's head back to our Times Square studio, and here is John Saunders. Sooners win it and win it big, John.